Start? Yeah. So, good morning to you all. Are you ready to start? Okay, here we go. So, dear sisters and brothers and members of the community, good morning once again. And we begin our national conference on gender and sexual minorities in India, a synodal approach to pastoral care and social inclusion, with a prayer by Dr. Anjana Parmar, OP, a Dominican sister and a faculty member from Nirmala Niketan, Mumbai.
Loving and compassionate Creator, we gather here today, united in a common purpose of justice, compassion, and inclusion. We are grateful for the opportunity to come together from different paths of life, faiths, and beliefs, with a shared desire to honor the dignity of every person. As we begin this conference on gender and sexual minorities in India, a synodal approach to pastoral care and social inclusion, we ask for your guidance and wisdom to fill our hearts and minds. May our conversations be filled with respect and understanding, and may we listen deeply to one another, especially to the voices of those who have been marginalized. We ask for the strength to work together, to be open to learning, and to support each other in this journey of pastoral care and social inclusion for gender and sexual minorities. Help us to challenge injustice, to stand in solidarity with the oppressed and the marginalized, and to create spaces where love, acceptance, and hope can flourish. For those who have been excluded, may this conference be a step toward healing, empowerment, and greater inclusion. For those who serve, may this be a time of renewal and deeper commitment to love and service. We make this prayer as one human family in the spirit of unity and peace.
Continue the prayer. We have a prayer song by Fatima Congregation Novices. Please come forward.
Move it
Thank you, dear novices. Now we mark the beginning of our national conference in a special way. As Pope Francis often reminds us, very especially through his encyclical letter Laudato Si, for the need to care for our suffering planet, which is our common home. Our care for one another and our care for the earth are intimately bound together. In this context, we remind ourselves of our responsibility to take care of the earth, our common home, by watering the plant, and thus marks the beginning of this national conference on gender and sexual minorities in India, a synodal approach to pastoral care and social inclusion. In order to do this noble act, may I call upon the dignitaries to come forward. Reverend Father Tomy Thomas, SVD, the Provincial Superior of SVD India, Mumbai Province. The others also can come forward as I call the names out. Miss Ruby Almeida, Father Thomas Nainan, Sister Prema Chuvellur, Dr. Shabina, Miss Inba Ignatius, Sister Maria Goretti, the Superior General of Fatima Sisters, and the Director, Father Victor Sagayam. All of you, please come forward. Father Thomas Nainan. May I request all the dignitaries to stand together for a photo. All of you together, one line. Yes. Now we have a welcome song that invites you to be feeling at home and feel welcome for this conference for the 3 days. May I invite Ms. Ruby Almeida and the Fatima Sisters Novices to come forward. close to your mouth.
I can't sing. So, hello and good morning, everybody. What I'd like you to consider are the words that are on the screen. Okay? Really think about the words and make note of them, certainly when you're singing it. After that, I'll just say a few words about the song, which perhaps might surprise you. So,
let us bear us in love and on a step believe. Our blessed saints and children are to forgive. Build our hopes and dreams and visions, rock of faith and word of grace. Here the love of Christ shall end divisions. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house with prophecy and walls are strong and true, where roads for children dare to sing, to dream God's reign anew. Here the cross should stand as witness, and the sin of God's great year. As Father claimed the faith of Jesus, all are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place.
come on. Very good. Thank you. So, the words are beautiful. The words are welcoming. The words are inclusive of everybody. Does anyone disagree with that? No. Does everyone agree with that? Okay. So it's surprising that this song was contentious, was seen as slightly disruptive by some of the bishops in America. Our program for the next 3 days is about everyone being welcome. This is an inclusive place for everyone. But somehow in America, some of the bishops felt that not everyone is welcome in our church. That you have to conform, you have to be a particular person, you have to be a particular way, you have to live a particular way in order to be welcomed in our church. Which I think most of us here, if not all of us here, will agree is that we are all welcome here, irrespective of our background, irrespective of our status, irrespective of our gender or sexuality. Now, there's a Cardinal Supich in America, in Chicago, who actually said, quite rightly, he said, this is a church, a universal church, he's talking about the Catholic Church, which is for everybody, and it is not for us to judge. It is for us to open our arms and welcome them. So with open arms, I welcome all of you to this conference. For the next 3 days, we're going to, I think, hear some very interesting talks. I'll leave it there because I know those moments of reflection and comments that we make about inclusivity will be ongoing. But anyway, so thank you for singing along. And I'm sorry I was asked to sing because I can't sing, but I pretended to sing, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ruby Almeida and novices from the Fatima congregation. Thank you so much. Now it is my pleasure to welcome to the dais Father Victor Sagayam Zackarias, the director of Ishvani Kendra, to officially welcome each one of you to this conference. For Victor Sagayam Zackarias.
Thank you, Father Matthew. Just for our guests who are present here, a word of introduction about our community before I start welcoming the guest. The one who was MC is Father Matthew Kaukat, who is the program coordinator of Ishvani Kendra. Then the one with the camera here is Father Anil T. Paul, who is the assistant director and communication in charge. And the one we have here, Father Gopu Vinod, also specialized in communication ministry, working in a department of communication here. Then to my left, we have Father Professor Father Mohan Das, is Professor Emeritus, he teaches in JD and other centers. Then we have Father Thomas is there, Thomas Maliprothu. Thomas Maliprothu, you will see him. He is also Professor Emeritus. Okay. This is our community here. So for all your kind of needs or for any any query, you can always approach any of the community members. And then we have Brother Vincent, another important person, who is the administrator, busy in the kitchen, always trying to prepare something for us at all times. That is Brother Vincent, administrator. And so, my dear esteemed guests, conference participants, friends and well-wishers, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this national conference on gender and sexual minorities in India, a synodal approach to pastoral care and social inclusion. As I welcome, I also extend my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you, my dear friends, for being a part of this important, historic event. We are honored to have participants, over 150 from out of Pune, and then about 100 from Pune. And these participants are from different faith communities and from different parts of the world and different walks of life, all united by our shared commitment to justice, dignity, and inclusion for all, particularly for the gender and sexual minorities, both in the church and in society. This conference is not merely an academic exercise, but a call to action, reflection, collective dialogue, and discernment in community and as a community. This conference seeks to provide a platform where religious, social, and community leaders, academics, and civil society organizations, human rights organizations, NGOs, come together to discuss how we as a society can provide pastoral care and social inclusion to some of the most marginalized and the vulnerable among us. The dimension of the synodal approach of the theme signifies walking together in solidarity, embracing differences, while listening to one another with compassion and respect. This resonates not only with the Christian values, but also with the principles of justice and inclusivity across faith traditions. And therefore, today we gather here at Ishvani Kendra. We reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that all individuals, irrespective of their gender and sexual orientation, are treated with respect, love, and dignity they deserve. This conference is organized keeping in focus the vision of Ishvani Kendra in collaboration with the Bridge and Embrace, whose founding members, the founder is here, Ms. Ruby, and also Sister Prema, representing the Bridge and Embrace. This conference is also organized in collaboration with the Global Interfaith Network, an organization based in South Africa which advocates the cause of people of all sexes, sexual orientations, gender identities, and expressions. We also have the support and good wishes of Drachma Parents in Malta, Global Network of Rainbow Catholics, Reverend Tony Kruger-Ayebazibwe, the Executive Director of the Global Interfaith Network, Reverend Dr. Azir Ebenezer, General Secretary of the National Council of Churches in India. And I would like to emphasize at this point, we also have the blessings, good wishes, congratulations, felicitations from our beloved cardinals, Cardinal Oswald Gracias, Cardinal Anthony Poola, Cardinal Filipe Neri, Archbishop John Moolachira of Guwahati, and Archbishop Peter Machado of Bangalore, and many other bishops. These 5 have sent messages. Later on, we will get to hear some of their wishes. And I also would like to acknowledge and thank all the organizations who have supported this national conference with partial funding, namely GIN, the Global Interfaith Network, and New Ways Ministry based in US, and SVD Styler Mission based in Germany. Also, Mr. Jacob Kirk in London, who from his personal saving came forward to support this cause financially. Thanks to all of them. We in Ishvani Kendra owe our gratitude to all the collaborators, particularly Ruby, Prema, and for Thomas Nainan, who helped us in planning this conference, particularly to find the efficient resource persons, to identify the significant areas of concern, and to chalk out the course of action. Many hours of virtual meetings, Ruby in London, Prema in Guwahati, Thomas in Nagpur, here myself, Matthew in Pune, and few others, and Edwina from Bangalore. So many hours of virtual meetings, discussions, deliberations, passion for the cause have led to the realization of this conference. Hence, my dear friends, borrowing the slogan of Gen Z, may I say a zillion thanks to all the collaborators. Also at this point, I would like to thank 2 persons who sowed the seed for this conference. In the first place, Sister Swartha Katuri of MSI congregation based in Vijayawada, who introduced me to this concept about 2 years ago. And she also had done her master's dissertation on this topic from the University of Hyderabad. So she gave me the initial push for this conference. She could not make it for the conference. And the second person who watered the seed is one of the MCs, Sister Anjana Parmar, OP, who is present with us. In fact, she helped me to sustain the interest in this topic when I was just wavering whether to go ahead or not. So I thank profoundly at this moment Sister Swartha Katuri and Sister Anjana Parmar for their support. A word about Ishvani Kendra, particularly for those who are for the first time here in our center. Ishvani Kendra was founded by Father Engelbert Zeitler, SVD, a German missionary, on 26th May 1976 with a vision of promoting mission animation and research in India as well as in Asia. And so Ishvani Kendra functions as a hub of radical new thinking and as a center of action and coordination, providing inspiration for the work of evangelization in India and Asia. The vision of the Ishvani Kendra is animating people in the light of the Word of God to build a new humanity in solidarity with the people of goodwill. We strive to realize this vision by our manifold ministries and commitments. So some of the goals of our institute are to animate laity, priests and the religious through renewal and empowerment courses, to promote inclusive mission that we talk about today and in the coming 3 days, and to foster a genuine spirit of dialogue among all religions, to spread the good news through the ministry of communication, to provide a forum for research conferences such as these on themes related to evangelization and promotion of integral human development. So keeping in mind the research component of Ishvani Kendra, in collaboration with Bridge and Embrace and other collaborators, we organize this unique and groundbreaking national level conference in the Catholic circle, particularly, and in India in the larger sense. So over the next few days, we will explore ways to build bridges, embrace differences, and foster greater understanding. We will discuss how pastoral care and social work can be catalysts for change, offering hope and inclusion for gender and sexual minorities who often face exclusion and stigma. Let us embark on this journey together in the spirit of synodality, with open hearts and minds ready to learn, share, and grow. Therefore, on behalf of Ishvani Kendra and Bridge and Embrace, I would like to extend, in the first place, a cordial welcome to Reverend Father Tomy Thomas, the Provincial Superior of SVD India Mumbai Province, for his constant support and guidance. And this morning, he was there with us. Amidst his hectic schedule, he reached yesterday and celebrated the Holy Eucharist and inspired with his homily. And now he is present here for this conference for today and tomorrow. So as a sign of our appreciation and acknowledging his presence with us, I would like to invite our community member, Professor Father Mohandas, to present him with a sapling. Please come forward, Father Provincial. And additional kind of words of information, Father Tomy Thomas is not new to this community. He had been here for many, many years, and some of the infrastructure facility that we have gone through his planning and his work, and he has been also working in our seminary school. So for Tomy Thomas, our provincial, is familiar to this campus. He is part of our institute. Thank you, Father Provincial, for your presence. I also welcome, my dear friends, and all the conference participants who have come here from near and far, and those from the campus, JD campus, and the wider campus, and various provincials, superiors and their communities, and we have Superior General Sister Maria Goretti of the Fatima Sisters, and professors, students, particularly the students and staff from Divine Word Seminary, who will be with us for the morning morning sessions all through. And staff and students from NVSC, sisters from Atmadara, Strivani, our sister organization for women, Strivani, Voice of Women, who share the common mission of Ishvani Kendra. And so, without further delay, my dear friends, we have gathered here as community members, as allies. A hearty welcome to all of you.
Now it is my joy to welcome Reverend Father Tomy Thomas, the Provincial Superior of India, Mumbai province, to enlighten us by his message. Hearty welcome, Father.
Esteemed dignitaries present here and our fellow participants of this national workshop. I consider it both an honor and a privilege for me to address you all, my fellow participants of this national seminar. SVD India Mumbai province in the month of February this year, 2024, we had our provincial chapter. The chapter guideline clearly gave a mandate to include perspectives from diverse social spaces in our formation programs and our mission animations. As the Provincial Superior of India, Mumbai province, let me extend my heartfelt appreciation to my confreres at Ishvani Kendra, along with all of you collaborators, for positively responding to the chapter guideline given in our provincial chapter. Today is the World Mission Sunday for all of us. And also on that particular day, this day, for Ishvani Kendra, it is an important day as its Institute Day. For the World Mission Sunday, Pope Francis has declared the theme for this year's Mission Sunday as "Go and invite everyone to the banquet." It is a noble thing that we start our national seminar focused on gender and sexual minorities in India today on this auspicious day. On this Mission Sunday, with this background on the Ishvani Day, it is a happy occasion, moment of beginning. The given theme by Pope Francis calls for compassion, understanding, and our genuine action. We stand for the formation of a church and society where every individual is valued, respected, and empowered. We need to listen to one another, listen to diverse voices, foster sense of belonging for all, particularly for those who are marginalized since a very long time. In the Holy Bible, Psalm number 139, 13 and 14 verses, we read, "You created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that fully well." Dear friends, God has created every human person in his own image and likeness. Therefore, discrimination, stigma, and exclusion has no place in a civilized society. I appreciate all of you who have shown interest and taken time to make it to this seminar. Once again, my heartfelt appreciation to the director, Father Victor, and the staff members of Ishvani Kendra for arranging this national seminar. I wish every best for the coming 3 days of our deliberations and interactions, which may bear fruit. We contribute our might in lessening of discrimination and exclusion, and our commitment to justice, love, and unity may be enhanced. All the best. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, dear Father Tomy Thomas, for placing our national conference in the context, larger context of Mission Sunday, and for your encouraging words and presence. Thank you. Now we move forward. We have several messages of appreciation and best wishes from different dignitaries from the Catholic Church and elsewhere. I invite Father Victor Sagayam Zackarias to present the messages for the conference.
Dear esteemed guests, as I said, 3 cardinals and 2 archbishops have sent us the message. Just the main points are there on the slide. I'll try to be as brief as possible, and then these messages will be displayed on a few places in the hall. Those who have time, you can read it in full. This is from Cardinal Oswald, Gracias. It's with great joy and pastoral concern that I extend my greetings to all those participating in the National Conference on Gender and Sexual Minorities in India, a synodal approach to pastoral care and social inclusion. The theme of this conference is timely and necessary as we journey together in faith, seeking to walk with all our brothers and sisters, especially those on the margins of society. We need a dialogue of love, compassion, understanding, rooted in the dignity of every human person, created in the image and likeness of God. We must walk together as a synodal church, listening attentively to the voices of those who have been silenced or misunderstood. This conference is an important step towards deepening our understanding, and ensuring that our pastoral response reflects the love of Christ. Then we have the message from Filipe, Neri, Cardinal, Ferrao. Ishvani Kendra has ventured into organizing, in collaboration with Bridge and Embrace, a national conference on gender and sexual minorities in India, a synodal approach to pastoral care and social inclusion. This conference promises to be an important step towards understanding and embracing diversity as well as fostering inclusivity within our faith communities. As scholars, activists, and professionals from various walks of life will come together to study the unique challenges faced by the gender and sexual minorities in India. It is hoped that they will help our society to learn to be more compassionate, understanding, and welcoming, particularly towards sexual minorities. The pastoral care component of this conference emphasizes the role of the church and religious leaders in offering care, love, and acceptance. Given that the social inclusion is vital for holistic well-being of gender and sexual minorities, it is hoped that this conference will shed light on how we can reshape social narratives in order to embrace diversity more fully. Then from Cardinal Poola, Toni. I'm happy to learn that Ishvani Kendra, an Institute of Missiology and Communications, in collaboration with Bridge and Embrace, organizes this national conference. It is a timely initiative as a church in the spirit of synodality can listen to the voices that cry for justice, that cry for acceptance, that cry for inclusive growth. This unique ecumenical and interreligious conference, organized from the perspective of the pastoral care and social inclusion, will certainly address the pastoral needs of the diverse, marginalized members of the LGBTQ community in India. I pray that the coming together and sharing of experiences and ideas among the laity and the religious will bear much fruit during these 3 days. I look forward to hearing the results of the conference through the papers that are published, which I know the church will be eager to learn from. From Archbishop John Moolachira of Guwahati, just maybe a few points. Pastoral care to the marginalized and ostracized people is a key part of Christian discipleship. The Emmaus story shows how Jesus accompanied his disciples under the auspices of pastoral care because it involved listening, empathy, compassion, and discernment. I appreciate all the organizers, though he has taken all the names, which I avoid for the sake of time. And then we have the message from Archbishop Peter Machado of Bangalore. Peace of Christ. I send my apologies as I am unable to attend this conference in this momentous ecumenical conference, which will address the pastoral needs of the diverse, marginalized members of the LGBTQ community in India. This conference, I know, is being conducted along the lines of the synodal process of walking together in accompaniment, which Pope Francis has encouraged all of us to engage with. I pray that the coming together and sharing of experiences and ideas and compassionate listening among the laity and the religious will bear much fruit. I send my heartfelt greetings to all who are gathered at the Ishvani Kendra conference in collaboration with Bridge and Embrace. Thank you.
We have also a couple of video messages which will be played now.
morning. My name is Reverend Toni Kruger. Ayebazibwe, and I'm the Executive Director of the Global Interfaith Network for People of All Sexes, Sexual Orientations, Gender Identities and Expressions, based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm really happy to be able to offer this welcome message to the National Conference on Gender and Sexual Minorities in India, a synodal approach to pastoral care and social inclusion. I am very happy that a Catholic organization is taking the brave step of beginning this conversation. I think that we all know how important faith and religious communities are in the lives of people, and they can be particularly impactful when they are inclusive of marginalized communities. So I'm very happy that this conversation is happening. I look forward to future accompaniment, and I hope that the time that you spend together here today and in the next days is fruitful and abundant and wonderful. Thank you very much.
Greetings from Malta, a very small island in the middle of the Mediterranean. My name is Louisa, and I am coordinator of Drachma Parents, which offers support to parents of LGBTI children. We're so happy to hear of this first ever conference in India on gender and sexuality, with a focus on pastoral care and social inclusion. You must have been working on this for a very, very long time, and we appreciate all the hard work and congratulate you and hope that your efforts bear fruit. As you know, all over the world, the LGBTI community and their families are striving to help others understand that diversity in gender or sexuality is not a choice, but rather part and parcel of the genetic makeup of the person. This is a lived reality, worthy of acknowledgement, worthy of respect and dignity. My life experience has shown me that all people are precious in the eyes of God, and they are a gift to us from God to help us grow and be better persons ourselves. So I will be with you in prayer, and I hope that you will have such a wonderful and fruitful conference. God bless you. Bye.
Hello, my name is Chris Vella. I am the coordinator of Drachma in Malta and also the co-chair of the Global Network of Rainbow Catholics.
And hello, I'm Marianne Duddyberg. I serve as Executive Director of Dignity USA in the United States and co-chair Global Network of Rainbow Catholics with Chris.
We are in Rome at the moment for the meeting of the Synod of Bishops, and we would also like to express our greetings to you as you start your assembly, Bridge and Embrace and Ishvani Kendra.
We hope that your gathering is really a time of joy and connection as you celebrate your identities as LGBTQ+ people and as God's beloved children, God's beloved people. We hope that this gathering helps you to build deep and fruitful relationships as you tell your wonderful stories and learn from one another.
God bless you all, and may all have a lovely conference together.
As you tell
I join colleagues in the National Ecumenical Forum for Gender and Sexual Diversities of the National Council of Churches in India in bringing greetings and best wishes to the meaningful deliberations of the National Consultation on Gender and Sexual Diverse Communities. This is a meaningful conference convened by Ishvani Kendra and the other sponsors, and we wish them well. My colleagues will be available during the conference to share stories of how they have helped churches grow in social inclusion. We will continue to be available with you in the spirit of synodality so that we will grow in the stature of Christ. I recognize and acknowledge the courage demonstrated by the Roman Church in the Holy Father meeting persons from gender and sexual diversities and their significant others. I recognize the words of the Holy Father who said, individuals relate to God and we are no one to stand in between. I wish the conference all success.
Now it is time to give a few practical information about our institute and the program that we are having. All the sessions of the national conference will be held here at Seitler Hall of Ishvani Kendra. So that is the place for all the sessions here. So you can remember this is the place to come for. Secondly, drinking water. Drinking water is available in a container just outside this hall. There are also water available where you stay in the Arnold Bhavan, both the floors, ground floor and the first floor. Similarly, on the main building also you'll find water points, drinking water points on both the floors. We encourage you to take waters in your bottles or things like that, because we are not supplying plastic bottled water here for all the participants. That is just to care for the creation, one way of caring for the creation. Then we have the chapel in the main building, that is to my right. That is, if you want to go to the chapel, you can always go on the first floor of the main building. Then regarding the food is served for during the conference, except this noon, always in the dining hall just below that you have seen during the breakfast. But today during lunch it will be also served in the quadrangle here. Then regarding the toilets, we have a toilet just by the side of this building. To my right here, you'll find toilets. Then there are also 4 rooms with the toilets attached just behind this hall and on the ground floor, which also you may make use during this conference, because we are not allotted them to anyone. Also, we know that some sisters are staying in Atmatara and in Holy Spirit Provincial. They may also make use of these rooms for their purposes. So these are the places where you can go for toilet facilities. Then there is also toilets available on the main building, both on the first floor. On the ground floor we have for men and women, and then on the first floor for the women alone. That is the common facilities. Then during this conference, please keep your mobiles in silent mode so that we may not disturb others, or in flight, whichever is convenient to you, so that we take care of one another. These are some of the things to help you to have the conference in a very convenient way. Then there is regarding the dynamics of the conference, Sister Prema Chovellur, Sister of the Holy Cross, will come and brief us how we go regarding the dynamics of the conference. Welcome, Sister Prema.
So once again, good morning everyone. You must be wondering why there are some instructions given by Father Matthew, and now what is this dynamics all about. This conference is something very special, very unique, and therefore we have the dynamics of the conference. So as it unfolds, you can see it here, inspired by the biblical vision of justice, and of an inclusive church, we encourage every participant to uphold the JR values of justice, autonomy, and respect. Justice. This value upholds the right of every individual present here. Therefore, any participant's right to set of attitudes, values, or choice of responses to various activities, or their sexual and reproductive health must be viewed from a rights-based perspective. Autonomy. Since all human beings are born with inherent rights, a participant has the freedom to make decisions, have their own values, beliefs, opinions, and perceptions with regards to any issue, provided they are aware of their responsibility not to harm themselves or others. Their freedom comes with the responsibility for their actions of respecting and upholding the rights of others as well as of themselves. It would also require their ability to grant permission to everyone to express their views or to ask questions, even if it may seem silly to another. Agreeing to disagree can help set the tone. Take care that this conference is not about forcing opinions on others. Regarding respect, it is important for participants to maintain the dignity of each person. This could be by maintaining confidentiality of keeping any private information that was expressed by any participant here is confidential. Participants can reinforce that respect will need to be given despite the differences of opinions, values, and perceptions. Confidentiality should be kept up and no arguments here for right and wrong. But respecting each one's views and opinions is important in this conference. Addressing each person in this conference by their chosen names and pronouns is very essential for the success of this conference. Respecting each one present here, we shall not take any photography in the conference hall by using mobile phones or any other gadget. Only official photography will be allowed in the conference hall. Any personal photograph will be taken only with the permission of the individual outside the hall. I hope it's clear to everyone, the dynamics. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Now I invite Dr. Father Victor Sagayam SVD, the Director of Ishvani Kendra, to come on the stage. Father Victor is specialized in the field of missiology and is a full-time faculty member of Gnanadeep, Pune. I invite Ms. Ruby Almeida, the keynote speaker for the conference, to come on the stage. I request Father Victor to welcome Miss Ruby with the plant.
It's my
honor to introduce Ms. Ruby Almeida, who will give us the keynote address in a short while from now. Ms. Ruby Almeida is a non-resident Indian in England. She worked in the non-broadcast media sector for 3 decades. She was a senior lecturer in film and broadcast at London Metropolitan University for 2 decades. She also was a trainer and educator in England as well as in India. She served on the global network of Rainbow Catholics Steering Committee and then as co-chair of the board till 2022 and is their current media officer. She was a chair of Quest, a pastoral support group for the LGBT and Catholics in England from 2012 to 2019, and now convener for Quest London Southeast, chair of LGBT and Catholics Westminster, London, chair of Bridge and Embrace, an apostolate for LGBT and Catholics in India. In the keynote address of Ruby Almeida, she will speak to us on the theme, what does a place of welcome look like? And now it's over to Ms. Ruby Almeida.
Thank you so much, Father Victor. I hope you can all hear me. Excellent. I also hope you're able to follow me, because I suspect maybe my accent is not quite what you're used to. If you feel I'm speaking too fast or too slowly, please just put your hand up. Okay, let me know. I'm aware that we're slightly running a little late, so I'll try and make sure I stick to time, that we're not too late to go and have a cup of tea, and the most important thing, to take our group photograph. So, first of all, I have to say I'm really thrilled to be here. When Father Victor approached me and said, would you please come and do a talk, I thought it would be for a day, but then through our conversations, I got the impression he wanted us to collaborate, which is really a great honor for us to be here as part of Bridge and Embrace. So, my sense of being here is as a keynote speaker, obviously, that's why I'm sitting here, but to talk about the title, which is, what does a place of welcome look like? Because we all talk about, don't we, a place of welcome. The song was All Are Welcome. But what does it look like? What do we have to do to make people feel welcome? But what I'd like to do is to slightly broaden the approach, or maybe make it much more narrow, and say, in truth, what actually do we do to be inclusive? How do we go about being inclusive? Yeah? It's very easy for us to say those words, isn't it? Yeah, you're welcome, I'm a welcoming person. But actually to do that can be a challenge for each one of us. So what I'm really amazed by is to see this amazing diversity of people that are here from different faith groups, the many diverse groups that represent the community. You know, the various aspects and the facets of what it is that makes us human beings. Not that dimensional, binary, male, female world of, you know, people who are meant to be good or bad or indifferent, but the sense of our uniqueness, you know, the fact that we're all made in the eyes of God, in the image of God, and we are not little compartmentalized people, we are diverse. And India, I think, for me, represents that huge sense of diversity you have. The more to the west you go, the more kind of narrow and confined things tend to be. in terms of what you're expected to behave like, you know, because there's one major dominant culture or religion, and that's what everyone is supposed to defer to. The rest have to be marginalized. Yet we know wherever we live, there are people who are marginalized. So in this conference, as I said, we'll be hearing from many people from different communities who will contribute huge, thought-provoking talks. And I need to declare something to you here. I'm not a theologian. I'm a sort of academic. I was for many years, more on communications and media. And I'm not a religious. So I'm just an ordinary person who lived my faith. I suppose I was one of those passive Catholics who went to church, thought I was good, and I went about my life. But it wasn't till I got involved. I was in a long-term relationship that broke up. And I did that classic when you go on Google and you type Indian, woman, LGBT, you know, trying to define these key elements of who you are. And all these organizations came up, most of whom I knew. But one organization popped up that I didn't know of, and it was called Quest, which is the National Pastoral Support Group. And I got involved with them. And the more I got involved with that group, it kind of led me further and deeper into my faith. To the point where actually there were issues that bothered me about the church, but nothing bothered me, nothing touched my sense of belonging to Christ. And that's what's always driven me, is that belief in who Christ is and the role that Christ plays in my life. So for me, the idea of diversity is about listening to people that might be slightly different from what I may think or believe in. And that can be a very challenging thing for most of us. And that challenge is about, okay, that's interesting, I didn't know that. And that makes you think, at least I hope it makes you think, rather than just shutting it down and saying that's nonsense. You think about it. And isn't that when we grow as individuals? Isn't that when we learn more about ourselves? Whenever I used to teach students, I'd say, how do you know when you don't know something? And they'd go, I'm not sure. I said, it's at that moment when you actually admit to yourself, I don't know everything. So you open up your mind to the challenges that are thrown at you. And I'm sure at some point in these 3 days, there will be challenges thrown at you. Don't be afraid by it. Embrace it, work with it, grow with that. So it's about taking a step out of our familiar comfort zones to a place of discomfort. Some of the talks, as I mentioned earlier, might make you feel uncomfortable, and they may feel like there's this dark cloud or shadow that's coming onto you. I would see it as an element of shade that gives you comfort, because certainly for the community who are there, that shade is there to protect, that shade is there to nurture, that shade is there to create solidarity. And those communities who you will see in clusters or in groups may feel slightly disarming to you if you're not familiar with that. But I would say to you, don't be afraid of that. Take a step forwards, have a conversation, get to know the person. And I feel that, you know, when we are in that place of discomfort, there is certainty that will come out of it. Okay, knowing that we all know when the sun is shining, it's glorious, but then it gets too hot, so we need to go under a tree to keep, get a bit of shade and a bit of shade and comfort. And so what I'm trying to say is that those moments when we are challenged and feeling uncomfortable are those moments where we can also get enlightenment, just as long as we open up our hearts and embrace what we are hearing and what we are experiencing. So that place that the community have, which I mentioned about feeling shelter and relief, is a place of solidarity and belonging, okay, and a place of identity where people can live their own authentic lives. And for other people, for society, often it's seen as challenging, if not threatening. And why do we feel threatened? Perhaps because it's not us, it's them. Okay, and that sense of them can be disturbing, but we shouldn't feel that. And there are people of faith or no faith all around the world that we inhabit, okay, where there's this sense of, and I mentioned about the shade, of a strong sun that's scorching the earth. And I'm using that figuratively. So that scorching of the earth is actually a strong force of right-wing ideology, conservative elements who don't want to see positive change happening for the marginalized communities. They're there to try and suppress that in all walks of life. That's very much the case. They want to impose values of judgment and condemnation on the marginalized, against the teachings of Christ, against the teachings of Buddha, Muhammad, whoever your faith leader is. There is always the negative, challenging aspect in life. And we have to fight that. We have to, first to fight it, we have to acknowledge it, we have to understand what it is, and then to try and fight it. Their sole purpose is to deny equality and justice, okay, for the marginalized. However, there is this shadow that I talked about, the groups who come together, who support each other, who offer each other refuge, but they're in the distance. And what we have to do is we have to walk towards that space and to understand and to be able to help. Now, I need to drink water. I'm feeling very dry. Excuse me. Thank you. Okay. Now, the most important ways that they can articulate the difficulties that they go through and the experience that they share is that they are there to help each other navigate a very difficult landscape that they exist in. Now, the landscape is dominated, if you like, by the majority, of society. Yet they are on their little groups, their enclaves, and they're trying to navigate a world, but they create a sub-world for themselves which is cut off. And what we have to do is we need to go to the margins, we need to go to the peripheries, and we need to support them. Okay? And as I said, that shade, that comfort that they get is about giving them confidence and insights and shows a way forward for them on this very long and sometimes meandering road. Whereas sometimes our lives are very direct. You know, we're going to go to school, we're going to go to college, we're going to get an education, we're going to get a job, we're going to get married, we're going to have kids, we're going to do all of that. It's preordained. For many other groups in society, the marginalized, they don't have those choices. So they're having to take a direction that will offer them something, and sometimes they may go around in circles. And I think many of us work with those people to offer them some opportunities to break that cycle. Now, as we know, there's a synod going on in Rome at the moment. It's going to culminate at the end of this month. And at the beginning of the synod, I'm just going to read you a quote from Pope Francis. The purpose of this synod is to inspire people to dream about the church we are called to be, to make people's hopes flourish, to stimulate trust, to bind wounds, to weave new and deeper relationships, to learn from one another, to build bridges, to enlighten minds, warm hearts, restore strength to our hands for our common mission. We must personally reach out to the peripheries, to those who have left the church, those who rarely or never practice their faith, those who experience poverty or marginalization, refugees, the excluded, the voiceless, etc. Some suggested questions the Vatican asked us to consider during the synodal process was, to whom do our particular church need to listen to? And I loudly say, to us. Listen to us. And then the question is, how are the laity, especially young people and women, listened to? That's a question mark from the Pope. A very dear friend of mine who is a missionary once said, you go wherever you go with your eyes and your ears wide open and your mouth closed. In other words, don't force your opinion on people. Listen, hear, and understand the other without judgment or condemnation. And the other question is, how do we integrate the contribution of consecrated men and women? This is about you and me, okay? What space is there for the voice of minorities, the discarded, the excluded? How do we identify prejudices and stereotypes that hinder our listening? How do we listen to the social and cultural context in which we live? And I guess in many ways we're going to be addressing these questions during the next 3 days. So what I'd like to talk to you about now for a few minutes is how can we learn to be inclusive? How we as a society can learn to be inclusive? How we as individuals can learn about the needs of the other and make demands of the institutions and societies that we inhabit. I am talking about inclusivity. I will sometimes use the word I, we, and you interchangeably to mean us. And I will be referring the I to the clergy and hierarchy as well. Yeah, so it's not a separation of, society or parishioners or what we call the church, which is the people, and the clergy. We are all one. Although I think some would think it differently, but anyway. Okay, so there's this wonderfully open gay priest and theologian, Father James Allison, who I know very well, who talks about the we and the I, and how the many I's make up the we. How can we see the I and the we in the other? In other words, the marginalized. Okay, and then there is the other who isn't there. Within any group, we, the marginalized, on the periphery, have the marginalized in the periphery and the who are excluded. So who are they, and how do we recognize them? It's a bit like that question I would ask students. How do you know that you don't know something? How do we know who's not there? They are there, but we don't see them. How do we know they're there? How do we find them? I have a very dear friend, Suresh, born into a high caste Brahmin family, gave up everything to go and work with the marginalized, particularly the women in the tribal regions in Gujarat. And we were working on a video documentary, and there was a big crew, and he was the producer. Yet every evening when we had a meal, he would serve everybody first. He would pay the drivers, the paid staff, and everybody first, and only then would he sit down to eat. Now for me, he was the essence of a good human being. He was the person who felt that everybody was important, equally important. And for me, that was Christ in action. And I thought that was a beautiful thing. Suresh totally trusted in the universal God and believed in Mother Earth and Mother God. And he believed that wherever he went and whomsoever he met, he was meeting an equal. And he was in the midst of equals. Not with the high caste Brahmins, but with the ordinary everyday people. I learned a lot from Suresh. I learned from his wisdom and generosity of heart. I won't talk about this now, but tomorrow I'll be talking about, there's different concepts of what we consider church to be, because we all think we're great and we're perfect individuals. So there's this thing called the rarefied church, which is incredibly judgmental and excluding. Then there's a welcoming church, which encourages people to come in and sit down, but listen. Okay? In other words, We don't want to hear what you're saying. We just want you to listen to us. Then there's the accepting church, which says, we love the sinner, but we hate the sin. Still judgmental. But then there's the inclusive church, the inclusive church that leads by the example of God's love for all and welcomes the gifts that they have and makes them a part of us as equals. Now, we live in a society that's incredibly fast-paced and, is used to the cross-cultural dynamics of food and dance and music, literature, art, everything. We love it. We want to eat the latest food from Timbuktu or wherever it is. We want to try it. We love it. But there is never a sense of wanting to understand that culture, that society, those people. So we're almost like appropriating the good things from other people, other cultures, enjoying it, but not even noticing the other. So what about all the others that are in our societies? The leprosy sufferer, the Hansen disease people, the marginalized, the refugee, the enslaved, the trans person, the HIV/AIDS sufferer, the gay person, the disabled person, the other caste person, the dark-skinned person. You can go on and on and on how you can marginalize and create little categories of people who are different to us. They are not like us. How do we learn to understand and accept them as part of our society? How do we do that? So there's this idea of sharing bread. Not those little bits of bread, but that big loaf of bread. How do we break that? How do we share that with others? Are we able to give and share it with others? Are we able to accept that actually being generous is a part of being a good person, a human being? Or do we just keep accumulating and hoarding things at the expense of the other? How much do we actually need, to survive? But, do we just keep hoarding and hoarding? We can't take it with us. We die and we go. We can't take it with us. So we need to think about how we can be fair in society to everybody. How do we live our faith without just paying lip service to it? Because if we do pay lip service, then we have a problem. Because if we're expecting to, and I'm going to use the Christian analogies here, if we expect to go to those pearly gates when we haven't changed anything about ourselves, I think we're going to have a struggle there. We might not be allowed in, but if we do, we're going to find that everything that we've done on this earth is not what is expected of us there. Because the I is not important. It's the other person, it's the collective we that's important. So we're going to find that a difficulty for us as human beings. So there is a big price to be paid for inclusivity, but I need to assure you that the benefits of inclusivity are countless, they're immeasurable. And the riches are about achieving this sense of nirvana, moksha, the kingdom of God here and now. There's a wonderful priest called Samuel Well, Anglican priest, who says we are too fixated about the outsider rather than community where it needs to go. We're always being judgmental about them, and we're not looking at ourselves. And we're also very good at pointing that finger at that person or that community and saying they're like this and they're like that. But what we fail to see always is those three fingers pointing back at us, the accusatory fingers about what's wrong with us, which we need to understand. And I guess that's the classic thing that Pope Francis said, who am I to judge? It is not for us to judge, and we need to be aware of that. Okay, so the idea is where indeed are we going? Okay, because Samuel says, where are you, the stranger, coming from? We're so concerned about them coming to us, but we're not aware or even caring about where we need to go. Okay, and where we need to go is to a better place of life for all of us. Okay, this sense of where we are in heaven, where the stranger needs to be made to feel welcome. I'm aware of time, so I'm just going to cut short what I'm doing. So I want to throw a challenge down to each one of you. Okay, I did this exercise many years ago. At the end of a program, we were all asked to think of one thing. It doesn't have to be big, be a small thing. One thing that I'm going to achieve that will enable me in my life, in my family, in my community, in my church, in my society, that will make things a little bit more inclusive. Okay, and you make that promise to try and do that, not in a week, not in a month, maybe in a year's time, but we work towards that. My promise to myself was I was going to go and talk in my church about LGBT issues within a 12-month period. It actually didn't happen. What happened is I spoke in many other churches. I spoke about many things. So the thing is to not say, I have to do this, and if I don't, I've failed. You try and adapt it to change it. And certainly, with us here, what are we going to do? And I would like you to think about how you can make a change. Now, Sister Prema told you about how we need to be understanding of the other, compassionate, we need to listen, not challenge, whatever, use the right pronouns, etc., etc. But maybe we can go beyond that and come up with one single thing that we can do to improve society and ourselves. So let's start small. Let's make one small change in our group, in our society, in our community. And given that it's Mission Sunday, let's make that our mission as individuals to do that one thing. And I'll end now by saying, as Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in society. So let's work towards that during our time together and take that into the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby, for talking directly from your heart, that I could see the attentive listening from the audience. There was almost a pin drop silence, no distraction. So that shows how you captivated the audience by talking things that are practical, that are relevant, and maybe I have to rephrase her topic. The topic is, what does a place of welcome look like? Maybe I need to say, how does a person of welcome look like? Calling for attitudinal changes in ourselves, making the small steps that we can take, challenges she has thrown. Maybe just to briefly say, kind of two categories she has made, because these days we will come across time and again lot of positive words. For example, diversity, inclusivity, listening, welcome, acceptance, growing together, dialogue, listening. Okay, one category of positive vocabularies. The other one will be definitely the opposite antonyms, stigma, exclusion, inclusion, exclusion, abandonment, rejection, sense of pain, loss of human dignity, and so on. So, from what Ruby has presented is, how can we minimize, reduce the negative vocabularies and help enhance the positive vocabularies in our life? And therefore now we do not have a kind of Q&A. In case if you have something to kind of ask Ruby, after Dr. Ramakrishnan and Manish present, there is a little time where she could also join the Q&A in case the audience wants to ask Ruby something. So therefore, kind of summarizing, she mentioned about two things I want to say, okay? About, or one thing which is in two directions or two, about belonging, okay? Belonging to society, belonging to faith communities. And one thing that I really liked was his sense of belonging to Christ. I think that is the point of departure. I think Christ unites us. Christ brings us together. and every person has a right to belong to Christ. So, with these few words, I would like to thank Ruby for introducing the topic and for giving this keynote address. On behalf of all of you, I thank her. Let us put our hands together for Ruby.
The moderator, and Ms. Ruby Almeida, the keynote speaker, for your valuable insights that set the tone for the conference. Thank you.
We have a short break now. That break begins with a group photo. Immediately, all of us will move towards the basketball court or Divine Word Seminary, that is towards your right. And then we come back for a quick cup of tea or coffee which you like, okay? So all of us, we move towards the basketball court which is towards your right. Please move to the basketball court. Yeah, and we'll be back at 10:55 sharp. Yeah, all those who are present here, please join for the tea, okay?